If you haven't already noticed, road salt is hard to come by. Store shelves are sitting empty all across Toronto and the GTA, like right here at the Canadian Tire here in the downtown core. You can see these empty shelves. I'm told this is where the salt should be. Now, as we hit the dead of winter, we take a look at what's behind the salt shortage. We also found the one location where there's more than enough to go around. Two big winter storms in just about 2 weeks have put salt in high demand. It was magnified by this week's double whammy of snow followed by ice pellets. Social media and our City News inbox are full of tales of Torontonians trying to get their hands on a bag. And Deuce tweets, so I can buy a patio set at my local Home Depot or Canadian Tire, but I cannot get salt or ice melter. Everyone sold out. So we've been searching the city high and low for bags of salt, and across the GTA, most store shelves are sitting empty, but we have stumbled upon the mother lode. For whatever reason, the Lowe's here in Vaughan is fully stocked, hundreds of bags of road salt. In fact, the display right here is just a small sample of what's waiting inside. The search for salt is so desperate, some are capitalizing on the shortage. A guy from Whitby is selling bags of salt on Kijiji at a markup of 300%. We reached out to some of the big box stores that were all sold out. Lowe's confirms that there is a higher demand for salt this winter than last winter so far.
We also concern ourselves with the environmental aspect.
Tim Van Cedars with the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority tells me we are a society of oversalters, and this is a good time for a lesson in conservation.
You don't put salt on top of the snow. You shovel first, then you apply the salt. And it's really only a sprinkling of salt that's needed. You don't need to cover the entire surface so that it's white.
I often see businesses over salting because they don't want someone slipping on their property and coming back to sue them. But if you oversalt, does it make things safer?
It does not make things safer.
The City of Toronto tells me there are no issues with its supply, and the city's salt continues to be replenished after every snowstorm. Now, as people are scrambling to de-ice their walkways and driveways, some experts say that we should be cutting down on the amount of salt we use by a good 30%. The reasons why, coming up a little later on in the show. Two winter storms in 2 weeks is the reason why bags of salt have been flying off the shelves. In fact, most stores across the GTA are sitting empty, leaving residents scrambling to de-ice their driveways and walkways. Now, as we grapple with a salt shortage, some experts say we are a society of oversalters and we should be cutting down our use by a good 30%.
Well, there can be quite a few environmental impacts, especially on an aquatic environment. Too much road salt into an aquatic environment can be toxic to the fish and other aquatic organisms. And if it gets into groundwater quality, it can actually have human health impacts as well.
And what are those impacts?
Hypertension, mostly associated with too much salt in a diet. So anybody that has problems with heart disease or hypertension can be adversely affected by too much salt.
What kind of impact does salt have on our roads? Are we seeing more potholes because of it?
I'm not sure if there's a link to potholes per se, but it certainly does corrode and will damage cars and vehicles. It also will damage other infrastructure like concrete and bridges.
Over time, I guess.
Yes, that's right.
Homeowners and for small business owners who do their own salting, either on their own property or in the areas, the walkways right in front of their properties, what we encourage them to do is something very simple. Shovel. Shovel early, shovel often, and particularly when the sun goes down and the snow has, basically it's warmer underneath and there's some slush that has formed underneath that snow. That is going to turn to ice, so you want to plow that off right after the sun has gone down. The other thing we try
Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit more work, but think of it as exercise. Think of it as exercise. It's a little bit more work, but in the end, you're going to be having to use less salt.
Now, when it comes to supply issues, I'm being told that most stores will put a rush on orders and should be restocked in the coming days.